Hello, Year 8. Today we are talking about volume of other types of prisms and cylinders. So it says, imagine that you were to pick up a tissue box. Do you know what shape it is? Here's a hint. It's not a square or a rectangle. Because you can pick it up, it is a three-dimensional shape, making it a prism. Prisms must have identical ends and flat sides, or it is not a prism. A cylinder is not a prism. It has identical ends, but the sides between the ends are not flat. We can treat the cylinder like a prism when we find the volumes because it has a constant cross section. So that's why we have two different formulas here. We have our just any old prism, and then we have our cylinder that has a very special mention. So the formula for the volume of a prism is V is equal to AH. The A represents the area of the what we call the cross section. In the diagram that you can see there, it means the triangle. But sometimes it might be a trapezium, or it might be a square. It could be any of the other two-dimensional shapes that we know how to find. So you find the area of this shape first, and then you'll times that by the height to find the volume of the prism. The cylinder, the end of the cylinder is a circle, which is why you can see the pi r squared in the formula, and then you times that by the height. So the formula is pi r squared h. Okay, so let's look at a few shapes. Question number 1, find the volume. This first shape actually looks quite complicated, but we don't need to calculate the area of the end. We are already told that the area is 15. So, because that's a prism, we go straight to the V equals AH formula, and we're going to times the area, which is 15, by the height, which is 8. 15 times 8 is 120 centimeters cubed, because it's volume. In question 2, or part 2 there, we have got a triangular prism. So we are going to use V equals AH, but this time I need to work out the area of that triangle first. So the area of a triangle is A equals half BH. The base and the height of the triangle would be 5 and the 2. So it'd be half times 5 times 2, which is equal to 5 meters squared. Then, now that we know the area, we can find the volume by doing V equals AH, which is the area of 5 times by the height of the prism. Now, the height is not always the vertical one. It's the one going away from your triangle or perpendicular to your triangle there. So it will be the 3 meters. 5 times 3 is 15 meters cubed. On the next page, this is a parallelogram prism. So it's got a parallelogram on the front. So we're going to find the area of the parallelogram first. The formula for a parallelogram is A equals BH, base times height. So the base and the height of the prism will be the 5 times the 2, which is 10 meters squared. Then I use that to find the volume, V equals AH. The area is 10, and the height, which is the one going away from the parallelogram, is the 6. So 10 times 6 is 60 meters cubed. D is a cylinder. So the cylinder has its own special formula, which is V equals pi r squared h. The radius will be the 10, and the height will be the 40. So make sure the radius is always the one in the circle, even if your cylinder can be turned all over the place. So subbing that in, we will get pi times the radius, which is 10 squared, times the height, which is 40. Type that into your calculator, and remember, anything involving pi will need to be rounded. So 10 squared times 40. We're going to do 2 decimal places, which makes that 12,566.37 millimeters cubed. Question E is definitely a bit of a tricky one because this shape on the top of my prism is a trapezium. To find the area of that trapezium first, the formula is h over 2 bracket a plus b. The h is the height between the two parallel sides, which is the 2. So it's 2 over 2 bracket. Then the a and the b are the two parallel sides, which will be the 3 and the 7. All right, calculate that and you will get 10 meters squared. Then find the volume of the prism by doing V equals AH. The area is 10 and the height of the prism, which is the one going away from the trapezium, is 6. 10 times 6 is 60 meters cubed. Question 2. Find the volume of the shapes and convert them into liters. The first shape that we have here is a cylinder. The formula for a cylinder is V equals pi r squared h. The radius is the 2 and the height is the 5. So let's sub that into our formula. Pi times 2 squared times 4. Put that in your calculator. Pi times 2 squared times 4 is 50.27, and that is centimeters cubed. But we need to turn this into capacity. So remember, centimeters cubed are exactly the same as milliliters. If we need that to be in liters, we're going to need to divide by 1000, which makes that 0.0. Now, let me show you this in the calculator. If I divide that by 1000, 0.0502. So I'm just going to round that to 0.05 because there's my 2 decimal places, liters. Okay, let's try a triangular prism. We want to find the volume in liters. So first of all, I'm going to need to find the area of that triangle. So the area of a triangle is half BH. The base and the height is 4.5 times 5. That equals 11.25 centimeters squared. Now we want to find the volume, which is V equals AH. The area that I just found was 11.25, and then I want to times that by the height of the prism, which is the one going back from the triangle, which will be the 8. 11.25 times 8 is 90 centimeters cubed. But now I have to turn that into capacity. Centimeters cubed are exactly the same as milliliters. Then to turn it into liters, divide it by 1000. So 90 divided by 1000 is 0.09 liters. Next page, question 3. Find the volume of the composite shape. So in this composite shape, remember composite means multiple shapes put together, we are going to have shape number 1 being the rectangular prism on the bottom, and shape number 2 is going to be the half of a cylinder that is sitting on top of that. Now, if we want to make a formula for this, V for volume equals, for the rectangular prism, it's LBH. That was shape number 1. Then I want to add to that the formula for half of a cylinder. A cylinder is pi r squared h, but because I only have half of it, I'm going to put a half in front of that formula, and that is shape number 2. Okay, so I'm going to sub into that formula, but I need to make sure I have all my measurements first. I have a length, breadth, and height for the rectangular prism, But what I need is the radius of my circle. So this side across here would be 20 because it'd be the same across the one across the bottom, but that's a diameter. If I want to know what the radius is, I would have to divide that by 2, which means my radius is 10. All right, let's sub in. For the rectangular prism, length, breadth, and height will be the 20 times the 50 times the 15. Then add to that half times pi times radius squared, which is 10 squared, times the height of the cylinder. Now the cylinder's lying down, so because I have my half a circle here, the height is going to be the one going away from that circular end, which is going to be the 50 from down here again. Type that whole thing in your calculator, and you will get 22853.98 meters cubed. We're not asked to convert this one into capacity, we've just asked to find the volume, so that's it. Part B, last question, we want to find the volume of this shape. So I'm going to chop it up into pieces. I'm going to chop it down here so that I have one rectangular prism there and a second taller rectangular prism there. So my formula will be V equals LBH for the first rectangular prism, and then plus LBH for the second rectangular prism. Okay, so what is the LB and H for my first rectangular prism? I have an 8, I have a 7, and then the one that would be going way back would be the 42. So we have 8 times 7 times 42. Plus, now we want to do the second rectangular prism. What's its measurements? Well, we can't see any measurements on the front, but have a look at the back. We have a 9 and an 18, and then the 42. 9 times 18 times 42. Put all that in your calculator, and the volume is 9,156 centimeters cubed. Okay, that's the end of our lesson for today. So you need to do workbook pages 36 through to 39, and then that's the end of our topic.